Morning, afternoon, evening. I'm Jason Abraxas. I am here with Here Comes Tom. We're going to be playing a game that he's made and talking about it. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Boy, I look angry when I look at the Twitch.tv screen over there. I am LookOutHereComesTom. I have been a brony since 2010, and since about 2012, I've been working on this project, Rainbow Factory MeltDown. It is written from scratch in Java. It's meant to be a platformer shoot-'em-up with some RPG elements. I've been slowly adding features onto it. When it started out, it was really bare bones. Now it's got customizable enemies, customizable dialogue trees. You've got event flags. There's custom equipment that you can actually see your characters wearing. That's how sophisticated it is at this point, and I'm continuing to add features to it. So, yeah, any other questions about this project? Yeah, it's been a while since I've done a release. At the moment, I am working on adding requirements. The designer is going to be able to say, okay, this ability is only going to be able to be used by the player or by NPCs if certain requirements are met, like an event flag is on or the right piece of equipment is equipped, stuff like that. And, hopefully in the next few months I'll be able to release that and a patch that'll actually allow you to open up the editor. Some computers, the editor just doesn't open when you try to open it. It does come with a level editor that's intended to allow other bronies to create their own fan games, and, even fans outside of the brony fandom should be able to use it to create their own games.
Oh, amazing. And I gotta shout out Ichigo as well. Hello, welcome. I did actually notice one other thing here that I actually thought was kind of interesting is you say this game is based on a fanfic, which means that this game is based on a fanfic, which is based on a fanfic based on a song. I think I got the order right there.
It's pretty close. The story is... the song was actually Fluttershy sort of going into a boss mode. I think it was called Psycho Shy. It starts out playing this chip tune that is basically Hush Now, Quiet Now from Season 1. And then it suddenly turns into what sounds like a Mega Man boss theme. And so I'm just picturing Fluttershy flying around, sending like little critters at you as enemies or minions or attacks. And I thought, what would be really epic if there was something explaining why Fluttershy was attacking you like this? Hey, how about a hate plague spreading across all of Equestria? What an epic story. And I just sort of built on it from there. I ended up creating a fanfic. I think it was called The Devil's Stallion. I just made up this demon in the shape of an alicorn with two horns, obviously. Right. He was the main antagonist, and he was spreading a hate plague all over the place. And the main six were bonded together with this thing called the Spell of Unity. The idea is that this Spell of Unity justifies every video game trope you can think of. It justifies extra lives, it justifies checkpoints. I mean, I never established how the checkpoint system worked in the fanfic, but And the thing about the Spell of Unity is it allowed one pony to be in physical form at once, and they can switch out at will, which is basically the way the game works at this point. Like, you press A in your Applejack, you press T in your Twilight, D in your Rainbow Dash, R in your Rarity, F in your Fluttershy, and since P is like way over on the other side of your keyboard, I decided to go with E for Fluttershy.
I vaguely remember that the last time I played through this was like December, and I only did the tutorial then. So this may be the worst playthrough of your game ever. I apologize, but
it's fine. It's the controls are really simple and intuitive, and so it's kind of hard to go wrong with my game. Actually,
yeah,
it's a pretty easy game. So
that's good to know, because I'm awful at games, but I do love them. The only other thing I can think of to just say anything before we start here is I was just looking through the fact here about some credits here. Medi96 for the Pony Walk animation base that you used.
Yeah, I don't
Glaze,
think they're
of
on
course.
Yeah, I don't think they're on DeviantArt anymore, but they did put out a base that I've used.
All right, and then of course Glaze for this for the original Rainbow Factory song, and Trashy one for the chiptune. I think we're currently listening to chiptune one. No, that sounds more like the orchestral, just backing sound in the main menu.
Yeah. Actually, the orchestral bit, I think if it's orchestral, it's probably Glaze.
Okay.
And there's only 2 songs in the whole thing. There's Glaze's Rainbow Factory, which I was going to use at first, but it's a good song.
Oh, yeah.
No mistake about that. But if you listen to it for too long, it'll sort of grate on you.
Yeah.
The chiptune does not have that problem. The chiptune is a good song. Somebody, I don't remember what his name is, but I do know he's in the credits, and he
The trashy
listened
one.
to it. Yeah, the trashy one. He created this chiptune for me, so I put it in the game, and it is easier on the ears over the long haul. So,
I mean, I love orchestral and I love rock, so I mean, when he dropped that song, I immediately kind of like, yes, I love this. And I usually do try to listen to it in around Halloween, at least, but only a couple times, because yeah, like anything, you can't listen to the same song over and over.
yeah, the tutorial still has the Rainbow Factory instrumental. I got Glaze's permission for that. The main game has, and also for that matter, the special edition that I created for TrotCon. Those both have the Trashy One's chiptune. So
I did load that in, but I don't, because I closed the game, reopened it. I'm not sure if it's gonna have proxy or not, but we'll see.
Yeah, you're pretty much going to have to go to New Game Load, because that's how you load up custom editor levels with the load feature, and you're going to have to reload it.
Well, I think we're going to start off with just adventure here, just kind of go into the base game here.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
Adventure is basically the same as the version for TrotCon, except that it doesn't have proxy or... Oh man, who else did I have as the character?
I only remember proxy.
Okay.
Just kind of messing around.
Whoa.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, that's afraid of that stutter. That's what I was afraid of. That's why I was kind of bouncing around there to see how that would react. Let's see if we can't fix that, because...
You've had it fixed before. So while you're fixing that, I might as well talk about a few of the things that are showing up right now. I mean, obviously we got Spike and Big Mac. They were wearing rain gear there because the plot is that monsters made of gemstones have attacked the Weather Factory, and they basically set it to flood Equestria. You can see, at least I hope you can see, some lightning happening over to the left. That is what I call a hurt zone. That's it's an environmental hazard that can fire randomly, or you can have it fire regularly. Those are options that you can use in the editor. There's also some background elements that randomly fire different animations. That's what I did to create storm clouds that flash lightning like that. It's also got multi-layered backgrounds, which if the editor worked in this version, then we'd be able to show you how you can set up multi-layered backgrounds and put whatever background elements you want inside them. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to wait until the next release to demonstrate that.
I was thinking this one would do it, but nope, it doesn't. All right. We are going to. We may have to just deal with it.
Okay.
I'm trying to check one last thing I could do it. Java games are always kind of fun to capture.
Yeah. Should I tell them about parody mode? Ooh.
Yeah, that's the stutter that I had before, but I mean, I wore the flashing, but the stutter disappeared.
Well, it's sort of going in and out and in and out and in and out.
Yeah.
Well, I should probably describe how parody mode works. Back in 2013, that is when the Fighting is Magic game got its cease and desist order, and at that point, I had been working on Weather Factory MeltDown for quite some time, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks that Hasbro would do something like that. And I started looking into ways that we can get a little bit more legal protection, and I discovered that parody has enormous legal protection. So I added a feature to the game where the game designer can modify individual frames in an animation, or the whole animation if they like. They can modify any dialogue they want so that it has both a, quote, polite version and a parody version. Polite mode is like the default. But this is basically an easy way for game designers to sort of tack on parody elements to whatever game they're playing. Or, sorry, whatever game they're designing. That will allow it to be a legitimate parody and makes it that much less likely that Hasbro will try to hit them with a cease and desist. Maybe that's a moot point since G4 is over now, but hey, this was designed so that anybody can use it to make whatever fan game they want. So I could see someone using this someday for a G5 fan game. Anyhow, if you talk to Big Mac, then first there's going to be about what you'd expect from the kind of dialogue. That looks like it got rid of the stutter.
Yeah, I realized I was using game capture instead of just window capture. So
okay.
That's how you capture Java. Just do window capture. Screen. There we go. Nice.
Yeah. So if you talk to Big Mac, then you'll get about the dialogue that you expect. The enter key is what you use to talk. But then after a while, actually, I should let you read what he's saying. The balloon is basically their only way to get up. Pegasi can't fly in this weather. That's more or less what they're talking about. But if you continue with the dialogue, then eventually the border around it will turn red, and then you will see some parody dialogue. It's not the most sophisticated thing, but it just proves out that parody mode just in general works on a technical level. So that'll be something.
I've a lot of indie games I've played. No offense, but developers really aren't always the best writers. So
no.
And conversely, writers are never good game designers. Usually, people are like, "Oh, I have a great idea for a game that I want to write," and yeah, the story's great. And then you play it, and the gameplay's just garbage. Oh, okay, this is where it turned red. Right.
Yeah, this is. It's sort of a double meaning about, well, I'm not going to say it.
Yeah. I think I vaguely remember that, because I think I played part of this and I got struck by lightning.
Oh, that's right. There are some lightning hazards later on in it, but yeah, the lightning, unless it's red lightning, which is basically a stand-in for bottomless pits. Unless it was red lightning, it probably didn't get you in one hit.
Yeah.
You can also talk to Spike, and he can give you some exposition if you feel like it. Then, obviously, the spacebar lets you use the elements of harmony. the lore here is that well, actually, Spike can tell you what the lore is behind the elements of harmony. And one line from Rarity completely changes Spike's tune. So you can ask him. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Replica harmony.
Okay, yeah.
Wester's always getting attacked, isn't it? By something or another.
I have to hang a lampshade on it.
Oh yeah. Yes. To be honest, the whole spacebar, I'm so used to spacebar is how you start conversations with other games. So I see myself trying to shoot people a lot if there's any more dialogue in this game.
Yeah.
So.
That's why the bullets aren't hurting Spike or Big Mac.
So they only attack spells. Okay, so little gameplay reason why there's no
friendly fire
team damage or friendly fire. Yeah. Alright.
Yeah, they work against the golems, and I just knew that this was going to be perfect for the last TrotCon because there was all this talk about cursed gems, and I have gems for enemies here. You can see the one over on the right, which is the 4 rubies connected by red lightning.
Yes.
Yeah, basically that's more of a it's more of an obstacle than an enemy, but it'll take damage and you can shoot it, and it turns into a collectible treasure when you do. So basically, I've got cursed gems right in here. Plus, there was a thunderstorm messing with the internet in the TrotCon, and there's obviously a thunderstorm happening in this game, so I thought this is just too perfect.
Oh yeah, as the person who's had to auction those gems off every year, I feel like this is probably a bad idea being in this game, but you know what? We're gonna go with it anyway.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Hey, if one of your characters gets too low on health, you can switch to another one.
Nice.
And Rainbow Dash is freaking out because there's no rainbows.
No rainbows. Rainbows, darling, rainbows.
Is that from G3?
That was G3. That's when I started watching, was when I was a little kid.
Wow. It's my understanding that the later G3 stuff, there's like a few artistic, stylish cues from the background element in that made it into G4, but
yeah.
On the whole, Homestar Runner was better animated than...
Oh yeah, if you're talking about newborn cuties, yeah,
that's the one.
Was
I've like seen a
good.
tiny bit of it, and yeah.
It's terrible. Like for the era, it was when a lot of animation studios started to want to go to flash animation. So they're like, well, we can do that too. We're gonna make these little shorts, My Little Pony shorts. It made sense marketing wise. But it's not good. Like the flash animations of when you look at the years that came out and compared to things that were on like Newgrounds or Albino Black Sheep or E-Bombs World, any of those sites, it's terrible. It's like this stuff people did for free, for a hobby, were so much better in terms of animation, in terms of sound design, in terms of writing. It's like there's one of the newborn cuties, Scootaloo does like a bunch of flips, and it's the animation is so bad.
Don't tell me it's the same sprite just going.
Yep, which one of my classmates in school in our movie club actually did a film all with MS Paint, and basically did that same animation, only like ninjas fighting, and it probably looks better than that. Something has to jump over them. You said I can get collectible gems. Do the gems collect automatically, or do you have to run over them?
You have to run over them.
Okay.
Yeah, and when you get to the part with bottomless pits, just let the gems go.
Yeah.
And there's different enemies with different elemental strengths and weaknesses. Like if you switch to Rainbow Dash and shoot at that pink one, you'll find out that it's much more vulnerable.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you switch to rarity, then like if you shoot this one with Rainbow Dash's bullets, it's actually healing when you hit it. I mean, it was already at maximum health, but yeah, the way I set up the elemental weaknesses and strengths, it's possible for a target to get healed if you set up the target's defenses so that it actually takes negative damage from something. So, yeah. I'm not sure I ever came up with a snappy name for those pool cue enemies. I think maybe they're called, those harpoons. I think maybe they're called Lance Lapis, which is kind of stupid because they're made out of the same materials as a sapphire. So one important thing is if you switch to rarity and shoot enemies, then the enemies will leave hearts behind, which you can use to heal up your characters. Which once you know that, then it makes the game so much easier.
It would also cause paying a little more attention to the game, but I was trying to see, which ones did damage, which ones didn't, or if certain characters did more damage or not.
Yeah, Applejack, Twilight, and especially Fluttershy do the most damage. Yeah, Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie, they've got speed on their side. Twilight is basically meant to be sort of middle of the road. Same thing with Rarity, except that Rarity is basically the medic. Yeah, and of course, she does damage. Rainbow Dash does electrical damage. Actually, if you switch to Twilight, you can use some of Twilight's spells. It's the control key that activates her spells.
Oh, it's like a spread shot.
Yeah, sort of. It's called Silver Flame. Probably in the end, I'm going to give Pinkie Pie the fire damage, like let her shoot fireworks out of her party cannon. And basically that'll be the fire attack, and then Twilight will get something else. And actually Twilight's got several spells at her disposal. You hit the tab key to cycle between them, and there's like that little icon beneath her portrait. Like that one there, that's it's called Stun Ray. I actually looked up on Tales of Equestria, the tabletop game, that beam that unicorns use sometimes in the game, that Stun Ray. I think Ice Bolt is the one that you were using that sort of shoots a prism out. I think this one's called Shadow Bolt, and that one is Dawn Bolt. And I think that one is called Air Blast. It lets her do air damage.
Okay. That kind of makes sense that she has multiple spells. Was there a reason why Rarity is the medic and not Fluttershy? Because you mentioned Fluttershy has the most damage, and that seems a little weird to me, to be honest. But
I think before we started this stream, you were asking about how it's based on something, or was it earlier in the stream?
Yeah.
Yeah. The story is that in the original fanfic, Fluttershy was essentially their glass cannon, and in a very bizarre implementation of that. The idea is that ponies are being turned. Like, I didn't have golems as enemies in the original fanfiction. I actually had ponies as the main enemies, and the reason behind that is they had the hate plague on them, and Twilight had the ability to cure the hate plague on one pony at a time with this arrows of light projectile ability. And for the most part, they were either immobilizing or distracting other ponies. And Fluttershy's attack was that she would sort of gather birds around her and send the birds out all at once, and the birds would distract ponies and make them chase after the birds instead of chasing after the main six. And so Fluttershy had a spread shot. That's why I ended up giving Fluttershy the ability to basically destroy everything in her path. If you hold down space and just walk forward, that's what I call the Flutter Dozer.
Oh yeah, it's like reminds me of the
You definitely
Well,
want
those
that
kind of
checkpoint.
side-scroller, like you play like a little spaceship and have to fight other spaceships flying at you, sort of attack. So
Yeah.
like one of the final ones, and you get another one that has like a bunch of blasts behind you.
Yeah, and of course homing attacks, which actually I do not have homing attacks as part of this game engine yet. I guess that shows where I've another possibility for where to go next.
Guess I'm supposed to be platforming this, but I'm just gonna fly right past it all.
Yeah, eventually you're gonna want to switch to rarity.
Yep.
You see those ponies in the cages? If you go near them, then it'll trigger some dialogue. Like in the polite version of this, these are not actual ponies. This is trash that is being recycled into rainbows. But in parody mode, it's not trash. It is fillies and colts. Again, this is obviously inspired by Rainbow Factory, but
right.
Yeah. And let's see what else. Yeah, so in the original fanfic, Rarity's specialty was getting gems out of the ground, and the gems had all these magic properties to them. Like, if you touch the right type of gem while the spell of unity is on you, then you get healed. So that's how I justify Rarity being the healer and Fluttershy being a glass cannon. So it's a little convoluted, but it makes a kind of sense when you understand it. So.
Whoa.
Yep.
I made the exit that time.
Yeah, this is spare parts storage, which is... This is where I really show off how the multi-layered backgrounds work. Because it's Rain with little yellow... stored in boxes with little yellow tags on every one. Couldn't resist doing a little Matchbox shout-out there.
These attacks, you know, is it just a little ball, or is the fan around it
the
does
light,
damage?
the light around it is just cosmetic.
Just cosmetic, okay.
Yeah.
Jack doesn't have any... Oh, she's got 6, I just noticed. It doesn't look like, on my screen, the outline blended in with the background there.
Yeah, Applejack is obviously the party tank here. She was in the game, in the fanfic as well. It's like Twilight scolded her for intentionally switching out and taking a hit, and she gives her this speech about how she's better at taking hits than Twilight, and says to her, "You're doing your best, and it's good enough for me." And it's, typical MLP stuff.
Oh yeah. I used to be kind of into fanfiction. Haven't really read any in years though. I read some of the big name ones back in the day, but that was it.
Yeah. Funny you should say that. I actually created a... Yeah, you gotta switch to whichever pony you want to field, so...
Yeah.
I actually created... When I heard that they were gonna sort of create G5, I made a sort of a what-if fanfiction that took all the rumors, which obviously were false, but it took all the rumors that we had at the time for G5 and sort of combined them together where Earth ponies, unicorns, and Pegasi are each on a different world. They aren't enemies, they're sort of doubting each other's existence, more like. And I think I called it Brand New Day, which is going to make it impossible to find on fanfiction.net because everyone is calling everything Brand New Day.
Right, that.
And, yeah, it's... I forget where I was going with that, but, it actually had Twilight and Applejack and Pinkie Pie, Rainbow Dash, let's see, and Rarity and Fluttershy. I was sort of expecting that it would be a reboot, not really in the same universe, and instead of going for the friendship theme that G4 had, I thought they'd switch to a different theme, so I ended up with the theme... I tried to do the theme of family.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess it kind of worked. But I had to do some pretty crazy things to get family bonds between some of the characters. I mean, one thing that I was hoping they would do in G5, which they have done with Hitch, is bring more male characters into it. So I actually had Shining Armor as one of the main characters right alongside Twilight. Big Mac, if I'd continued it and made like a series out of it, Big Mac would have been a main character, but his role was a little bit limited. And here we have the first boss in the game. Yeah, I think he's called Carbon Copier because he's a giant diamond. And there's a checkpoint down there which you definitely want to get.
Oh, down bottom. Oh, down there. I see.
Yeah, you're supposed to go over to the right and around, and you can also talk to that pony hiding behind the furnace there. She's an OC that I just pulled her name out of the air, Alto Stratus. Yeah, and she's obviously freezing her butt off because it's raining indoors, and Rarity, being Rarity, she's brought like tons and tons of reindeer with her, so you can just dress them up however you like, and it'll change their appearance.
Oh, nice.
Of course, by however I like, I mean, you've got 3 options, and it sort of switches which mode she's in. At least she's not shaking anymore.
Right.
Probably the best way to play this is to do as much damage as possible, and to switch ponies when you're really low on health, like right now. And he died. You killed him.
Oh wow, nice.
Yep.
That. Cool. You know, when I first kind of was looking at the new movie, I thought, I kind of felt similar.
Do we want to avoid spoilers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of felt like they might do something similar about, like, Found Family or whatever, go a little more heavy into that, because they started doing a little lightly with the end of Friendship is Magic. So I'm really excited to see if they do something with that, because it seems like a lot of animation is leaning heavily into that theme lately.
A family. Okay.
Found family, yeah. So like family who's, people you consider family, but you're not, related to or in a relationship with.
Yeah, I would kill some things with Rarity at this point because Fluttershy's got pretty low health there.
Oh, she does, yeah.
Yeah. If you keep an eye on that, then this actually turns out to be a really easy game.
Wrong thing. Grab that.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I was for some reason thinking she could fly. Rarity.
Yeah,
not fly.
Yeah, it just knocks you back to the last. Yeah.
Yeah, but everyone's at full health though, so that kind of works. That was what I wanted.
Yeah, she's got spread shots right now because you've got this, it's called the Starry Charm buff. It basically gives ponies spread shots, even if they're not Fluttershy, and it lets them deal extra damage, but it doesn't last for more than about a minute or so, and once again, I would switch to Rarity and start peppering things.
Yeah, I keep forgetting like how squishy some of these characters are relative to each other. Some are really squishy, some can take a few hits before losing a heart. If I remembered which button on my keyboard was, the T button or the R button.
Yeah. So, one thing that I did to try to make the level design feel a little more modular so that you can tell when you're going from one level to the next is having those stairwells that sort of say level 1, level 2. And you're actually zigzagging your way up the Weather Factory. When I was making this, I had like a big map and everything. I was going to ask, are you deliberately testing the death system again?
I was not. I honestly thought I had like full health there. That was just me being stupid. I told you going in this, I'm not the best at game in here. I'm not good.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times where I'll run into something saying, hey, does this do damage or whatever, but that wasn't, I'll admit, that wasn't it. Did I get crushed by the wheel, or did I just lose all my health?
you just lost all your health. The wheel is just... I actually based that wheel off of a real steam engine. There's this children's museum in Grand Rapids, which is fairly close to where I live, and that children's museum actually has a big working steam engine, except that it's not running on steam because that would totally F up the humidity in there. They have it running technically on an electrical engine, but I totally based this steam engine here off of that steam engine from Grand Rapids.
Is this Grand Rapids, Ohio, or Michigan, if you don't mind me asking?
Michigan. I don't mind. Yeah.
I was going to say, I've definitely seen, I think I've seen some of this around, somewhere near the Ford kind of classic plant. Yeah, I lost all my health again, didn't I? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to say, you should probably switch to rarity and hit some things. Yeah, that's the thing about this game. The faster the character is in general, the less health they have. Pinkie Pie is like the only exception, and her damage sucks. Yeah.
I'll say, sometimes the flying gems, I think, are also like weapons coming at me, or I'll think the weapon shots coming at me are flying gems.
Oh no. Yeah, the weapon shots have like fireball tails coming after them.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually gave each one of these enemies their own name. Like that yellow one that's shooting lightning, that one is called Zappo Topaz.
Zappo Topaz.
Which is also a palindrome. Yeah, it's a palindrome. I couldn't resist. At first I wanted the yellow gems to be citrines and the orange gems to be topaz, but I decided to switch those when I realized I had a palindrome on my hands. The red ones that don't do anything except damage you if you touch them, that's called Rough Ruby. The purple ones that are shooting like crazy and going up and down, those are Blast Amethyst. The green ones are called Float Peridot, and yes, I looked it up. Peridot and Peridot are both legitimate pronunciations.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah, so Steven Universe fans out there, don't have a cow. Fluttershy's really low on health right now, so you should...
Oh, she is. Wow, she really just does not want to stay alive.
No. The black ones are called Night Onyx. They do dark damage and they fire in 8 directions, but they do so in a very specific pattern. Rarity is the one that gets you the hearts. And obviously there's a few enemies down there, so... Oh, and look, a treasure trove of hearts. I forgot that I sometimes did that and just put hearts in out-of-the-way locations so that you can heal up your characters whenever you like.
Since I really couldn't figure out where the source of those all those black shots were coming from, I think that's what kept killing me there. Alright, yeah.
Fluttershy.
It's healed up. Everyone's healed up.
Yeah, you gotta fly over the pillar. Of course, I'm seeing this on Twitch, so it's there's a couple of seconds of lag.
Yeah. Twinks.
Yeah, this is the Cloud Room, and there's a boss in it. The original plan was that the player snakes over to the left and then snakes back up, and then there's the boss sort of in the middle, but you might just be able to bypass it with flight. So
yeah, you just go through the clouds here.
Yeah. Not that cloud, though. It's called Quartzy Cloud. And yes, that's totally Yep. And that is totally a parody of Cloudy Quartz, which is Pinkie Pie's mother, actually. And this cloud will sort of go back and forth and drop lightning onto you. It's actually got several different attacks. If you... Yeah, I'd kill those enemies first and then focus on the boss, because otherwise that'll happen.
Yeah, I almost thought the shots were coming from the boss at first.
They were. Well, some of them were.
Some of them were? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the boss sort of drops down these fireballs, and because I just gave it so little momentum, the fireball will bounce on the ground for a surprisingly long amount of time, and Fluttershy is really low on health again. that is, and that one that was circling around there, that was actually called Orbit Opal. So, yeah, the blue one that shoots fireballs that go straight, that is Spark Sapphire. And you remember how the orange gemstones ended up being citrines? I ended up calling that fire elemental orange one Sizzle Citrine. So, yeah, and let's see, I'd wanted to do an ice elemental one. I still haven't added debuffs to the game, so they can't freeze you yet. But
Oh no.
yeah, there is one that does ice elemental damage called Chill Chalcedony, which that's got to be one of the more obscure gemstones, Chalcedony.
Oh yeah.
Yes. You know, I always thought that if Peridot and Lapis Lazuli sort of fused in Steven Universe, we'd get turquoise, but under the circumstances, Chalcedony is it's a pretty good contender too.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and those circling hearts, those actually increase every pony's maximum health, which is useful for the boss battle. Yeah, you've already grabbed it.
Oh,
It's
cool.
you see those hearts floating around?
Oh,
you?
I see what you mean now. Yeah,
That's an indicator that you've got the buff, but it only lasts for a minute.
Okay.
Dialogue will pause the buffs ticking down, so the boss fight hasn't started yet, so it can't take damage, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got to trigger the dialogue, and when you do, obviously they're freaking out over nothing except for fighting the boss. It's
Right.
basically a giant cloud made of big old gems that are quartz. And if it takes enough damage, then
Would you be close enough with Fluttershy? Just every shot hits it. I feel like that's I mean, yeah, when you use a glass cannon though, so I mean, it's not exactly too cheap because if you're not careful,
No.
you'll just die immediately.
very much so. And I also specifically picked all the gemstones that count as quartz and had Quartzy Cloud drop those on death. And you might have noticed that it sort of stayed this silvery color and went up.
Yeah.
Eventually, I want to get it to the point where there's sort of a rematch with Quartzy Cloud, but at the moment, I've got a placeholder boss instead in the place where I would have the boss battle with Quartzy Cloud.
Any
One of
thoughts
the
on like a boss rush then, or?
You know, I could see adding something like that. I've added ways that you can add doors that only appear if you've beaten the level and it knows you've beaten the level. I have something called commentary mode, and boy, you're tearing it up with the flutter doser there. So I do have commentary mode, which is something you can unlock, and when you're in commentary mode, then these NPCs appear. Technically, they're NPCs as far as the game's concerned, but as far as the player's concerned, they're a bunch of old-timey radios with Pinkie Pie's umbrella hat on them, and the idea is you talk to them, and they give you a bunch of my commentary on this game, like how I developed it, how I designed it, and all of that jazz. And there's also doors that are only visible if you're in commentary mode, and those can take you wherever you want to go in the factory. I could see adding a boss rush mode where there are doors that only appear when you're in boss rush mode, and they take you straight to the bosses. That's one possibility right there.
Is that a chest or is that just aesthetic?
That's just aesthetic. That's actually not even a chest. It's an adding machine.
Oh.
Because Equestria in G4 runs on pre-electric technology, I just looked up a ton of stuff that was pre-electric. And
Oh yeah, it does look like an abacus almost now. I have this window. I mean, it's kind of a standard sized window, and then on the screen that's really far away from me because of my setup. But
yeah.
not exactly an ideal situation, but
Well, my setup, I'm sitting in front of a laptop that's on top of a pool table.
no, nice.
Yeah, this is my man cave.
Oh yeah, yeah. I noticed you have the arcade systems back there. I think we gotta talk about those at some point.
Yeah, the two of them are from Arcade 1-Up. I was happy with them at the time I bought them, but Arcade 1-Up has done some things that I don't like very much. For example, that 40th anniversary Pac-Man one back there, it's got 7 games on it, paid $500 for it. It's pretty pricey. If you're not a software developer, and sometimes even if you are, you're not going to have the disposable income for that. I hate this economy, but the thing of it is, Arcade 1-Up came up with a second Pac-Man cabinet, like the year after they released this one, and that second Pac-Man cabinet was just like this one, only uglier and $100 cheaper, and instead of having 7 games on it, it had 12.
Oh, wow.
Literally every game that is on this is also on that 12-game one. And in fact, I could totally trick Best Buy into selling me that one for $300, or more like $315. Yeah, the green enemies... Yeah, Applejack deals nature damage, so the green enemies are immune to that.
Nature,
yeah.
I'm imagining.
The funny thing is, when I started out, these weren't golems. These were actually elementals. They were like these little tornadoes with a big old claw. They still were pretty much square-shaped. Somebody told me that those looked really ugly, so I decided to switch to these more aesthetic gemstone ones, because now... with this, when you defeat them, then they turn into piles of collectible treasure.
Oh, yeah. They do kind of look kind of cool, like you explode them and then like the little collectibles just bounce right off.
Yeah, that's Rarity is the one that has more power against the yellow enemies. I couldn't think of an element to use for pink, so I just gave it earth elements. So Rarity's shots, they'll still damage the pink enemies. Those are patrol agates, actually. But Rarity's shots will damage them, but they don't do nearly as much damage. But her shots are super effective against the yellow enemies. And of course, with the pink enemies, it's the other way around. Rainbow Dash deals a ton of damage to the pink enemies. And Twilight's about to die, but... might want to switch to something else, like, yeah. Anyhow, yeah, at first I was going to do a system of elemental antipodes, like fire versus ice, electric versus earth, and, let's see, light and dark, and nature versus arcane. Twilight's stun ray spell, and for that matter, Rarity's, she's got a stun ray spell as well. Those deal arcane damage, so they'd be perfect against the green enemies, the float peridot. So yeah, some enemies take less damage from your hits without actually being immune to them. Like fire damage will do less damage versus the red enemies, but they'll still go down. Anyhow, I was talking about how they were elementals at first instead of these gem golems. At first, I had wanted to take a different aspect of the storm and base those enemies off of that. Like the green ones would be wind elementals, the purple ones would be hail, the blue ones would be rain, the yellow ones would be electric, but eventually I sort of scrapped that concept. The leftover vestiges of that idea were that where the yellow has that electric attack. Then I decided to add elemental damage to the game engine, and then I sort of brought everything back that I was going to do for the enemies while they were in elemental mode. And Rarity's also got this gem toss ability, which deals a ton of earth damage to whatever's in front of her. Yeah, and
I think I don't think she gave health with that. Only gives health with a normal attack, or no?
I think that might be true. I forget how it works exactly. If you fly upwards instead of going into the refrigeration room, yeah, the rainbow room is all cracked and busted up. But yeah, you get a checkpoint there, which heals you up completely. Nice. There's really nothing up there. It was just a maze. My goal with designing this room was that the player has 3 choices. They can go through a gauntlet of enemies, and then they'll be rewarded with a checkpoint. They can go through just a few enemies, and then they're right at the door, or they can bypass the enemies by going up through the top. And when I first designed this, there was no Winter Lab. It was before the episode where Rainbow Dash went and totally effed up the Weather Factory to try to keep Tank awake. So I had to modify this. I based this room off of the tour that Rainbow Dash was giving to the main 6 of the Weather Factory, where they've got those lenses with lights sort of above their desks, and
they're handcrafting a snowflake.
Yeah, this is it.
Now, are there 2 different ways to go in here, or?
No, it's an extremely only the refrigeration room is next. I actually thought through how all of this would work. So you've got the engine room, which powers this massive shaft that goes all through the factory, and you see, you end up seeing how all of this stuff works. Like if you mapped out the factory, then you would see that the shaft placement actually makes sense. And these are actually cooling systems from, I think, before electricity was very common. I looked that stuff up. There was the Mayflower compressor. I think I looked it up in some Tumblr post about older books. So I'm citing something that's citing something, and instead of calling it the Mayflower compressor, I just had to call it April shower instead, just for the fun of it. And, I do use some real background ponies for some of these characters that you talk to. Like Mary May, that really is her name, and she's got, I think, Sons for a Cutie Mark. She is absolutely hating getting rained on, but she's standing next to the cooling fins on the compressor, which actually put out heat. The way these compressors work is those coils that are right behind the fan, they're evaporating something. They're evaporating some coolant, and the act of evaporation sort of sucks the heat out of everything around it, and then it's blowing that cold air into those vents with the fan. Then the gas sort of gets piped into the compressor, and the compressor it turns that gas back into a liquid, and in the act of doing that, it gives off heat. So basically, the way just about every air conditioner or refrigerator in existence works is it sort of sucks heat out of one place and puts it into another, and it uses principles of evaporation and condensation to do that. I actually looked up all of that stuff to make this game.
Oh, this is closed. Oh, but I went there. Yeah, no, that sounds a bit like a swamp cooler.
Swamp cooler, huh?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the name. In terms, it's more of an AC unit, but it pulls out like humidity and turns it into like coolant.
Really?
Used mostly in like very humid places though, or some southern states.
Yeah, I've heard that there's this new air conditioner that when I first heard about it, I took it with a grain of salt, and when I heard how it works, I decided I'm never going to try it. And the reason is it's humid where I am. I mean, I'm in the Midwest. Humidity is sort of the name of the game, and those fans don't actually hurt you. They're just And this would actually be the place where we have the rematch with Quartzy Cloud, but I just have this basic Rainbow Elemental boss here instead. Since it summons minions, and this is what the old enemies looked like once upon a time. Little tornadoes that shoot fireballs at you and have the big claws. If you're playing with rarity, then you can turn those minions into extra health. Yeah.
Let's try it. Oops, that's not.
Yeah, you don't want to touch the rainbow either. The rainbow, it triggers this. It triggers this attack where it sort of grabs you, puts you to a specific place, and deals damage to you. So if you can avoid touching the rainbow, that's better than not avoiding it.
Yeah, I can definitely see where the gemstone creatures are a little better than them. Not that they're bad looking; they look very static.
Yeah.
And seeing them everywhere would be
You should definitely get that checkpoint.
Yes.
So, let's see, what was I talking about before this? Probably doesn't matter that much. Actually, fun fact about these enemies is that there's a distinction between these out-of-the-box enemies and custom NPCs. The ones that you've seen walking around, those are actually custom NPCs. Some of them have attacks, some of them don't. Let's see, and actually several of the enemies that might look like they're standard, like Night Onyx and Orbit Opal, those are also custom NPCs. I set it up so that when the custom NPCs die, it is possible for you to set them up so that they drop gems just the same way the standard enemies would. And this character, I believe her name is Parasol. She's obviously MacGyvered an umbrella for herself, but this specific room is actually the big funnel that outputs clouds. When I looked, I started on this like in Season 2 or Season 3, and the design of the Weather Factory is not consistent, unfortunately. But the one thing that is consistent about it is that there's always this big output funnel on the right side of it that just pushes out clouds. Unfortunately, there's no enemies to heal you up, so I would switch to another pony if I were you. Rainbow Dash is really low on health. Here, instead of putting enemies in it, I just put a bunch of lightning, because lightning bottling is the next part. And I thought of this before the writers of G4 did. So there's this lightning bottling system, and it crushes you. You're supposed to switch to a fast pony or you see those cycling horseshoes? That is a buff that increases your ground speed, so you can run underneath it if you time it right. I wouldn't do Applejack if I were you. She's the slow one.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, wait, Applejack's athletic, she's gonna be fast, and I realized, no, wait, Dash is gonna be the faster one.
Yep. Rainbow Dash or Pinkie Pie would be the fast ones, and there's kind of a joke on that second poster that's got the warnings on it. There is a joke on that. Crunch. You might want to get the speed buff before you run underneath it.
Oh, there it is. I see it now.
Yeah, it's possible to. I wouldn't do that. That's once you're on the conveyor, it's going to slow you down. So, yeah, if you get the speed buff, then you will go much faster and it'll be much easier to avoid death. But you pretty much have to be in just the right place to see the whole thing. But there is a joke on that second poster. Yep.
Nice.
Had to do some tongue-in-cheek stuff there, so.
Do not stick hands in the dangerous hand spangler machines.
I was going to say blender, but okay, that works too. And I also added these signs that say new storage rules. Because there was lightning bottling in the Weather Factory in the second episode where Rainbow Dash went into it. And she totally broke all the bottles. So I decided I'm just going to incorporate that into it. Obviously I did this before that episode aired. And so my solution to that was just to change a few background elements and call it good.
Yeah. I mean, I think we could have all guessed at some point they may try to do lightning in a bottle pun somewhere, but...
Yeah. It's just a little too appropriate not to if they're going to have the Weather Factory.
Of course.
And yeah, this is the Rainbow Mixing Room, which was one of the other rooms from the tour of the Weather Factory. I think the room where you fought Quartzy Cloud, that one was also based on one from the Weather Factory, the first episode of the Weather Factory where, oh, yeah, the red lightning will kill you instantly. Yeah. My stand-in for a bottomless pit, and this time it's for a topless ceiling as well. top left feeling. I certainly hope that doesn't increase your rating on Twitch.
Hopefully not. If not, whatever. I'll worry about that later. That's future me's problem. Yeah.
Actually, the way I coded this was going out of bounds in any direction, not just down, but sideways and up. Any one of those will kill you. And the reason that I did that was basically being out of bounds is a place where the player isn't allowed to be. And from the perspective of a developer of a game, the death system of the game simply resets things and puts you where your character is supposed to be. That's another one of the reasons why getting crushed in games like this is instant death. I mean, just about every platformer I've ever played, if you get crushed, it's just instant death. And I think the reason that developers do that is if you're crushed between two objects, then the player character is in a place where the player character isn't supposed to be. The player character isn't supposed to be able to go into the walls or into the floors or ceilings. So if they get crushed, then basically that's what has to happen. They have to go into the wall or into the floor or the ceiling. And if they use if the developer uses the death system to sort of reset where the player character is, then that completely solves that problem. There's other ways of handling it, and some games actually use those, like Donkey Kong Country 2. Ooh, I really don't want to jump there. Like Donkey Kong Country 2, they had this level, I think it was called Castle Crush, where the floor is slowly going up, and if you get crushed on the ceiling, then the floor will go down a ways. In fact, if anything happens to damage one of your characters, then the floor will go down for a little while. And that's another way. The developer can modify the game engine and the moving elements so that when they do try to crush you, those elements react. But that's a little bit more difficult to do than just using the death system to simply move the character to a place where they're supposed to be again. Doing this game actually taught me a lot about level design, and hopefully it's a good enough lesson so that I don't completely botch it with this game. But
right. I mean,
I really haven't had that.
The levels have been intuitive of where I need to go. I'm just terrible at getting there.
Well, I did sort of pork it up with the snowflake making room. You tried to go through that door that had all the cracks in it because it was sort of more in your face. There was a lot of contrast between the busted door and the walls, but there wasn't much contrast between the door that actually works in the walls.
Yeah.
So maybe I should modify that, like make it boarded up instead of dark and cracked, something like that. Then it would be a little more obvious that, hey, this door isn't going to work.
Right on top of you. Let's try to not muck this one up again, so I can't jump.
Yeah, technically you could probably bypass the red lightning if you took damage, and then while you were flashing, you went through it. That would be doable, but a little bit tricky. You'd really have to time it. Maybe I made this part too tricky and I should take out
Yeah, I
some
mean,
of
it's just, you have to, like, put yourself perfectly in it, because I think that's what was getting me, is I was jumping in just a hair too high. So it looks like the lightning is touching right at the top of the hitbox.
Yeah, the hitbox is actually a lot smaller than you'd think. If you went someplace with a ceiling, then Twilight's saddle umbrella would just go right through it.
Okay.
You know, that's another thing about... That's another thing which is a little bit weird about G5. I can understand why they did it, but they added sticky hooves.
Oh, yeah.
Like, well, they'll hold something with their hoof, even though it doesn't make any sense for it to stick to their hooves because they don't have any fingers. One of the reasons why, and you can tell from this that Rarity has her saddle umbrella equipped from let's see, she wore it in the Ticketmaster episode. That's where we first saw it. And
Yeah.
the rain cape and the rain hat that she's wearing, those are from Return of Harmony Part 1, where Discord is making it rain chocolate milk all over the place. And of course, her boots are from one of the later seasons where she's wearing boots. Yeah, maybe it's time to try that exploit and bypass the... There's also a boss battle. It's another one of those rainbow elementals. If you beat him, then you'll get a much more convenient checkpoint.
Pretty sure it hit me when it was going up. The whole distance hitbox.
Yeah, I think maybe I gotta double check that. Once in a while with these crushers, I see it crushing while going up, and I think that should be impossible. I thought I'd done something to the collision detection algorithm to fix that, but apparently not.
I think it's possible this is an older version as well, so...
No, well, maybe.
It did again, yeah.
It did do that again. Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to look into that. So, anyhow, there is something that you can do if you want to take a break from the gameplay and try something else. About the only thing that the mouse does at this point is it works the inventory and equipment system. If you click on one of the pony's portraits, then it'll bring it up.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So this is Rainbow Dash, and it shows what she's wearing. The boxes, the 8 boxes to her left and to her right show what items she's equipped with and what you can equip her with. And if you take one of those, okay, yeah, and the dialogue system at the bottom shows different aspects of it. You can click and drag, say, an umbrella up there to her saddle, and now she's got a saddle umbrella equipped. Yeah, there's all kinds of different stuff here. There's actually you're trying to equip a raincoat in the rain pants area.
Oh, I see it highlights where it goes.
Yeah, it highlights where it goes.
That's cool.
Yep.
There we go.
And you can put Rarity's fedora on Rainbow Dash's head. And Pinkie
right,
Pie's
that's Pinkie's umbrella, right?
Yep. Yeah, and you can scroll up and down. Yep. And now she's got the trench coat. All those pink ones, those are the gems that you've collected so far. You can't really equip those.
Okay.
Yep.
That's cool. So you can customize what you want them to look like.
Yeah.
I think that's Rainbow Dash rushing style right there. So. We're gonna keep that. She needs 2 umbrellas, just because she's that good.
Yep.
Okay. Press the right button on the keyboard. There it goes. Alright, did I go backwards?
No,
I didn't.
You are not so far backward by the red lightning that basically you have to go through the lightning warehouse a second time. And, switching to Twilight or Fluttershy will do the trick. I was going to have... I'd wanted to turn this into sort of like a saga, where the first level is obviously the Cloudsdale Weather Factory, and there's each level would have its own theme for what clothes they're going to wear. I was going to have a second level where there's this, you have to intentionally hurt yourself, and then while you're still flashing...
Oh, use the invisibility frames.
Yeah, use the icon.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the exploit we're talking about here, and obviously it undoes the equipment changes The reason that I coded it to undo equipment changes when you revert back to a checkpoint is, what if after that checkpoint you acquired an item and equipped it? That's why I sort of save which items you've got equipped at the checkpoint, and if you die or revert to the checkpoint, then it reverts to whatever items you had equipped then.
Okay, so you can't use items that you shouldn't have yet.
Exactly. Anyhow, yeah, rain gear is obviously rain gear is obviously the theme for the first level. There'd be a Manhattan music festival for level 2 where party outfits are the theme, and I was going to do this original ice area for the third level where they try to get some snow to replace all the snow that's melted in the weather factory. I'm not sure that you noticed it while you were going through the snowflake warehouse, but you got to keep some enemy alive to do this, or like intentionally hit one of those fireballs. That'll do it too.
Oh yeah.
You got to be quick.
Yeah, I think I also hit the top of that platform right above me.
Yeah.
And go high
So-
enough. High. Way slow there.
At least that one only crunches you when you're when it's going down.
Right?
Yeah, you can go right through the sparks, but you can't go right through the Actually, Rainbow Dash has some lightning resistance, so she did not take any damage from that hit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the way I coded the resistance system is that if there's like, let's say that you only take half damage from an attack, but the attack only deals 1 damage. What do we do then? Well, the way I coded it is you've got a 50% chance to resist all the damage from the attack if you've got 50% resistance, and it deals only 1 damage. And Rainbow Dash basically works that way. So,
oh, no. I went too high. I thought I was going to get close to it now, so I didn't want to do that. But...
yeah. I have a delayed reaction because, again, I'm watching this on twitch.tv.
I'm getting a little quicker at just getting through this section.
Well, you've been having a lot of practice.
Oh, yeah. I feel like
Since
with
we need
speed boots, you go faster than the shots, though.
Yeah, it's hilarious. You can really compress a lot of damage into a small area, but yeah. I also coded those little marquees that say how much damage you've dealt, so that they stick around for like a second or so, and then if you do more damage, then it'll show that damage increasing. But then after a long enough time, it sort of detaches itself and blinks upwards. And, let's see.
There we go. Yep.
Nice. If you go over to the left, then there's the boss battle, and that'll get you the checkpoint. Yeah, and remember that Rarity can destroy those minions and get you some hearts if you need them.
Oh, if you hit with the normal attack, though.
Yeah, it just didn't for the normal attack. Yeah, what would be really annoying is if you fell into the red lightning. And,
oh yeah, that's what I'm really afraid of right now.
Yeah.
Caught that real quick.
With the Shadow Bolt spread, it's probably gonna probably will go down pretty quickly. Then the final part of this is you go up and take a ride on that conveyor belt way at the top. Yeah. That's basically the only way forward.
Is there thoughts of changing it so there's a weapon upgrade system, so you don't just start with all these kind of slightly overpowered weaponry, or?
Well, actually, yeah. Well, it's going to be a little hard to justify Twilight finding spell books in the Cloudsdale Weather Factory where unicorns normally can't even go. It would be nice though. I mean, once I do the release where there's requirements like event flags and such, then it's possible for me to add spell books that would allow Twilight to learn new spells, but it doesn't make sense from a lore perspective. One thing that I have thought about is giving Pinkie Pie the ability to get a party cannon that is loaded up with flares instead of being loaded up with like confetti and such. That would allow her to do just a bunch of fire damage. I mean, it would probably have a pretty long cooldown, but it would allow her to do a bunch of fire damage. Probably that's not going to be in the next release, the whole party cannon thing. But I could add a cannon. I could add a cannon slot to Pinkie Pie's equipment and allow you to just equip that on Pinkie Pie. Yeah, the way forward is like way down in that southwest corner, and unfortunately the only way there is to take a ride on the conveyor belt that's way up top.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm trying to find the way to get to the conveyor belt. That's all the way over here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's close to the boss battle. The way I originally designed this level is first you snake over to the left underneath the red lightning, then you snake back over to the right over the lightning. You got the boss battle, and then you take the little elevator up to the conveyor. You'll ride the conveyor all the way back to the left, along with the rainbow boxes, and the rainbows have actually been corrupted. If you keep going, I put a lot of dark humor in the posters. Well, dark humor if you really think it through. Like if you keep going, eventually you'll see a poster that I stole the raincoat and rain hat that the filly and the mare are wearing from actually a G1 doll. I think it was called the Ready for Rainbows doll, and she's asking, "Mama, why are there no rainbows?" And the reason is because the rainbows have gotten diluted by the water, and no rainbows for a whole year, and Rainbow Dash is freaking out. And you can see that busted door there, tour from the snowflake room, that's because of the order in which the ponies were taking the tour. I actually added some busted doors to show that. And Twilight is really low on health. You should really switch. Yeah, you should switch to rarity and get some more health.
What's that?
Yep. I'm not sure whether you've played as Pinkie Pie even once in this.
I don't think I have. No.
Well, that's the E button. She's got her umbrella hat on, obviously. And this is actually the main water tank that is supposed to hold all the water that they put into the weather factory in, let's see, in the Hurricane Fluttershy episode. Yeah, Sprinkle Medley is yet another character, yet another background pony. And, yeah, I use a lot of those in this. For a while, I was going to use actually a character from G3. Her name was Tularula. Yeah, she's from G3, but eventually they had her canonically appear in one episode. I think it was her and a character from G1 named Lickety Split. They didn't make them adults like they were in G1 and G3, but Instead, yeah, here's another mini boss. The damage won't actually stick while it's in blue mode there, but if you do enough damage, it'll switch to red mode. My experience is that the easiest way to beat this thing is actually to get right up underneath it and just hammer it with the flutter dozer.
Yeah,
I would use Applejack. I'd use Applejack to get that far. Its attacks will go right over your head. And now it's looking a lot more miserable, and you can see its heart.
Yeah, I'm seeing its like little face there. Yeah.
Yeah. And the gems on the outside shift a little bit too, I think. If it takes enough damage, then it will just sort of turn into a bunch of collectible treasure. I think I called it Corundum Conundrum. Yeah, the joke is that rubies and sapphires are basically the same type of mineral. They just have different impurities in them. And here's where I do a little bit of show don't tell. Up until now, all of the stairs have basically been, I won't say whole, but they've been busted up a little bit, but they haven't been busted to the point where the wall is busted and you have to go outside in order to keep progressing. So obviously there's a platforming area out there which just screams, pick a flying pony and go past it.
Right. I was pressing the spacebar to jump there. I forgot like what came up like 10 seconds.
Yeah, I use the up arrow to jump, and not all games do that. So can't really blame you. And there's a checkpoint flag right down there. There's something else I should warn you about. Yeah, that enemy right there.
That red one,
yeah, it's so hard to see. And Twilight's almost ready to die, so I'd get that checkpoint fast. The checkpoint flag actually fills up every pony's health, so. We're gonna have to switch that to a blue enemy or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just
or move it over to the left just to off that sign a little bit, maybe.
Another option is I could change the color of the sign.
Oh, yeah.
So this, you know how earlier there were those fillies in cages, and there was also the trash? I wanted to make like a family-friendly version and a parody version of this, again, so that I could make sure that this counts as a parody. What I had wanted to do when I was young and stupid was submit this to Hasbro and see if they could make it canon. Obviously that would never happen, and now it's impossible because they've gone from G4 to G5. That's how long I've been working on this. But my original goal was to have the parody version be sort of a backup plan in case they say no, and the family-friendly version just sort of gets rid of the fillies in cages and replaces it with recycling, because we all know that recycling is a really good Aesop, and Rainbow Dash is about to die, and she did before I could say it, and
yeah, I had a feeling it might happen.
Yeah. And that's why rarity is so handy.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to have a version of this where there was a lot of recycling going on, and so basically there's a bunch of trash here that can get sorted by those machines and compressed and all that. That's why I have another one of these industrial masher gauntlets here. And later on, there's going to be some grinders that show some yellow trash being crushed. And I sort of have a pun that you really have to pay attention to even see. Consistently, since the color of trash is important, and Rainbow Dash is almost ready to die.
Yeah, I switched quick there.
Since the color of trash is important, I fairly consistently have like red trash, yellow trash, green trash, blue trash. Then when I get to the color white, I have the word refuse taped over the word trash. Pretty obvious reasons there. I'm a bit surprised you haven't gone with rarity and gotten Dashy some hearts.
Oh yeah, I probably should. Oh, you're right there. Yeah, there. Get her. Got it. Grab that. And I just lost it. Alright.
Yeah, these are the color grinders. I actually found this grinder where they take a whole cow and just mash it to bits.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know, it's those grinders are based on that. It's well, I'll put it that way. And we've got another checkpoint down there, so
Another one down there?
yeah, it is possible to backtrack, so yeah, and yeah, if this was in parody mode, actually I think you can sort of activate default parody mode if you go into the options menu. Like if you press escape, then go to options. There's parody default and polite default. If you go to parody default, then you get to see what everything looks like in parody mode. And I think that those machines say, no tourists, we don't want you to see this, or something like that. A lot of these orange signs are. See, any... awesome, man.
I kind of like that a little more. It's a little funnier. I like that.
Yeah. And they're trying to comfort the little fillies, which, in polite mode, those background elements would be trash that has been stored up. But trying to comfort them and saying that their souls will live on. No, they're just plain background widgets.
Got it.
You know, I could have animated those if I'd wanted to, because whenever I have a foreground or background element that you can place wherever you want to, I call those widgets in the editor, and it is possible to do them animated. In fact, I added something called smart widgets, which have the ability to randomly fire off a particular animation. Like, it can be random, and it's also possible to have those animations depend on things like event flags. So, yeah, there's actually a lot of options for background stuff, and those fillies and colts in cages are definitely background stuff. This one, I'm trying to remember what I called it. Oh, Spring Specialty. That's what this one is called.
Okay.
Yeah, it bounces around and tries to bounce into you. It's got I-beams. It also crushes towards the ground, and it is only vulnerable when it has crushed towards the ground. So when it does when it does a specific attack, or when you get close enough to it, that's when it becomes vulnerable. And then it turns into a bunch of collectible treasure. Yeah.
Was there a checkpoint I missed, or?
There's going to be a checkpoint later. That's a good one.
Okay.
And you know, I added some components from the winter lab to this. This is just spare part storage.
There's a little fan blade in there from ACU.
Yeah, I just took a hodgepodge of miscellany in there, and I'm a little surprised that you're doubling back like this.
Oh, I doubled back.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you're back in the prison, basically.
Oh, I did go backwards.
Yeah, you can grab the flag again if you like, but I think there's one further on. Yeah, that pony down there is in.
The first time I grabbed it was before the boss, so.
Yeah. So yeah, at first I had Tularula right here, but then I realized no, they have canonically brought Tularula into G4 as a filly, so I grabbed another background Pegasus named Lightning and Here she is. Oh dear, it seems... Is there a problem with Twitch?
Shouldn't be.
Okay, I just saw something spinning for a moment on the Twitch there. Alright, so... Okay, looks like whatever it was, it's back, so...
My input. I'll fix that real quick.
Okay.
Cool. Alright.
Probably there's a few people noticing that there was a sparking hurt zone up by the stairwell there, and it's about to fire, but because of the way I animate everything, it just continuously sparks because it's continuously staying in the state where it's about to fire, and while you're in dialogue mode, basically the rest of the game freezes. So it's just staying there and just continuing to sparkle like crazy. Yeah.
There's checkpoint. Go through this.
Yeah, now there's just a bunch of enemies to kill. Of course, since you've got the damage buff, you'll be able to cut through them like a hot knife through butter.
Oh yeah.
Except for the lightning one if you're playing as Rainbow Dash, obviously.
Oh yeah.
And another sort of piece of pseudo lore is that the reason Twilight and her friends are in the Weather Factory in the first place is because there's like a strike of the weather workers going on, and it's not entirely clear who is causing the gem golems or who's causing the massive floods. I think the striking workers might have created the floods, and Celestia herself, to try to fight back against the strike, created the gem golems. So it's like, I'm making it as crazy as possible. I had all of this headcanon for how I was going to do the parody mode, where Rainbow Dash is almost dead. Yeah, it's Twilight is just this hilariously sociopathic jerk who wants to drive Celestia as crazy as possible. Like at one point, Celestia just gets so fed up with it and thinks that she can't get one step ahead of Twilight, so she surrenders to Twilight, and Twilight's demand is that Celestia liquidate anybody who she told was surrendered, or she would surrender, and nobody knows about it. And then after Twilight leaves the room, Celestia realizes that Twilight just had exactly the status quo because of that.
Close to the top, it looks like.
Yes, you are very close to the final boss. Right. I think that I coded it so that it's going to rain even harder when you're out here.
Oh, yeah, it does. The whole look it is. Yeah.
Yep, that's
compared to the first level. The big map. I got the chocolate lightning.
Okay. Huh. Oh, I think I might have added some kind of barriers with red lightning or something like that. And...
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Lightning is much more of a hazard with when you're outdoors, obviously. So. The final boss, shoot. Do you remember what Rainbow Dash Presents did with Rainbow Factory?
Yes.
And said that it was Captain Hook the Gorilla Biker.
Yeah.
You know, that really got nothing to do with it. As a sort of a shout out to that, I wanted to create this giant gem golem. When you first see it, it looks like, it actually looks like a sink spigot. There's like two big circular gemstones and this column in the middle that is just pouring water down. I'm going to have to be real careful how I shape that to make it obvious that it's supposed to be a sink. But the idea is that this golem is just continuously filling up the water reservoir so that the Weather Factory never runs out of water while it's trying to flood Equestria. And if you do enough damage to the two spigot controls, the two handles, like if you hit it in the right place, then you get righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and you can shut off the water. But then those two giant handles turn into two giant wheels, and the rest of the gem golem sort of turns into a gorilla on a motorcycle, and you're basically fighting that thing. That was what I wanted to do, and I may still do that. But at the moment, I've got a sort of a placeholder, a third one of those rainbow bosses. But it's yeah, I think you've hit an invisible ceiling.
Yeah, and I think going all the way left of that I could as well.
Yeah, I had to add invisible walls because otherwise you can fly to places that you're not supposed to be.
That's why I didn't see that. It was covered by gems.
Yep. Yeah, this is the second to last room and indeed the boss level. So, yeah, I made it as dark in terms of its palette as possible to make it look as ominous as I could. You're going to be dodging a lot of lightning, and the irony
is
that
these things. Oh, no,
there's
that's
loads
just
of them.
one. Images that overlapped on each other on my screen, and like two of them appeared.
Oh wow. You should probably use rarity to get some parts in general. And this one spawns a ton more enemies. Twilight's about to die, so...
Yeah, oh, they go down quick. I was thinking it would take a little longer.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things that's kind of unfortunate about this is that at its highest point, when you're on the ground, the boss actually sort of goes off the top of the screen.
I switched right when I was in the beam of lightning.
Ooh. Well, at least you're at the top floor.
Yeah. At least my deaths are, my own fault and not, the game just beating me up.
Mega Man, this ain't.
No. This at least feels fair. Oh, and I just walked off. I probably should have let go of the blast, and I would have seen the red lightning.
Yeah.
Just trying to speedrun through this to get back to that upper level.
Mm-hmm. Your extra health buff sort of wore off, so now you're all at maximum health again. Ever so briefly. Yeah, the way I implemented the way that these hearts spawn is if rarity has hit. Now you got your maximum health buff again. So now they're not quite as squishy as they were. But, the way I implemented it was if rarity has hit an enemy with her regular attack, then if the enemy dies within 1 second of that, then the enemy will spawn hard. And then you can see Canterlot way in the background there. Some of this lightning might be continuous.
Yeah, some of it's the red one. So at least you can tell like what's continuous by what's red.
She's almost dead. She's almost dead. Look out. Just switch to rarity.
One of these days I'll remember to look at my health.
plus maximum health buff only lasts about a minute, so yeah, it disappeared. I did strew a few hearts around. You know, I've heard the word strewn plenty of times, but the present tense strew I have never heard before, and now I've just used it. It's legitimate English! Another good defensive move is to switch to Applejack because she's got just a ton of health. At least in comparison to the other characters. Yeah, she's still at full health, at least at the moment I'm seeing it, so it's not that pivotal. Now Applejack's half dead. If you keep using Rarity's Earth spread shot, then
I was half a second too slow. Switching.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rarity's Earth shots don't really they don't really create hearts. Maybe I should modify it so that they do. But, actually, I'm not sure whether I set it up so that custom attacks can spawn hearts or not. Don't remember. I'm not sure whether I left any. I'm not sure whether I left any hearts in this room or not. Oh well, the maximum health buff will count.
It fills it up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's too bad that we didn't do this during TrotCon because it would have been just a little bit more appropriate with the talk of the cursed gems and thunderstorms fresh in our minds.
Oh yeah. It's close. That.
If you can keep an eye on your health, you've got this.
Oh yeah.
Boy, something just clicked in my mind. See, do I warn you or do I risk jinxing it? Okay, I think I'll err on the side of warning you. The lightning hazards will not stop just because the boss is dead. So theoretically, you could beat the boss, you could have the checkpoint flag right in front of you, and you could still die to the lightning, so... You probably shouldn't use Rarity's spread shot at all. You should probably just use her regular attacks.
Yeah, I realize that, yeah.
They'll create hearts. Of course, you can use Twilight Spread Shot as much as you like.
Oh, yeah.
The way I usually play this is I create a little supply of hearts with Rarity, and then once that supply of hearts is there, then I switch to someone with high damage like Fluttershy or Twilight, and then just pound at the boss. But your characters are high health at the moment, so you can probably... You can probably just wail on that boss. Given how long the boss fights lasted, I'm guessing the boss has fairly low health at this point. But so does Twilight, so... You know, you haven't used Fluttershy much, except when you're taking advantage of the Flutter Dozer. Actually, she's got full health at the moment, but that can change before I can react, and now she's really low on health.
Yep.
So is Twilight. Okay. Switch to Applejack, I would say. She's got the least. Yes, she got the checkpoint.
Yeah, you're about 5-10 seconds behind then.
Yeah. And you jump on that emergency shutdown button there, and that completes the level. That's how you win.
Sunshine and
The rain
rainbows.
stops. Yep. And I made it pastel because that sort of contrasts it with the bright colors of the Rainbow Elemental enemy. And you unlock this, then you've unlocked commentary. If you go into options, then you'll see that there's some stuff that's unlocked.
Polite.
Yeah, you can go to pure parody and pure polite so that you can see just the parody dialogue or just the polite dialogue. You can switch developer commentary on and off, all of that kind of thing. I don't know if I'm going to expand on the options later. Probably I will. But yeah, this is that's Weather Factory Meltdown right there. Hopefully I'll get it to the point where the editor actually works, and the editor, I think, is the place where the real power is in this. It'll allow anyone to make their own fan games as they see fit. It doesn't even have to be a My Little Pony fan game. I've actually had, there was something that I'd like to do with this, but I don't have the free time for it now. Have you ever heard of Slim Goodbody?
Slim Goodbody. I have not. I didn't mean to exit the game completely, but whatever. We'll switch to that. There we go.
Okay.
I have not heard of Slim Goodbody, no.
Okay, Slim Goodbody is, he was like this educational show from the 70s and 80s. The idea is that he wears this skin-tight suit that actually has completely anatomically correct internal organs. So you see the lungs, you see the heart, the stomach.
Oh, no, I remember him now, yes.
Yeah, he's got
Yeah.
muscles on one arm, he's got bones on another arm. And once upon a time, he was supposed to be a superhero. I know, and supposedly he's got super strength, but it seems like he never actually does anything super heroic. They just call him a superhero so that kids will watch him. And I remember watching one episode as an adult after like years after he was off the air. And I remembered thinking to myself, you know, if he took the small intestine off of his suit and used that to lasso some opponents, that would at least be something.
Right.
What I would have loved to do with this is make like this educational video game that is all about digestion. It's the idea is that he's trapped magically in some kind of nightmare. His suit has turned gray. All the organs have basically disappeared from it. And in his nightmare, he has the ability to collect other organs. And as he does, he gains new attacks. Like if he gets his stomach, then he has the ability to fire acid. And acid can digest types of food that you couldn't digest without it. There's actually a lot of really fascinating stuff about the digestive system. Like your small intestine does not have acid in it. It's actually got alkaline in it, the opposite of acid.
Huh.
It digests completely different nutrients. Your stomach is designed to digest meat. Your small intestine is designed to digest just about everything else. And I would love to make an educational game based off of that. It's a Metrovania game, so that the more organs you collect, the more areas you can explore. The enemies are basically food items, and as you beat them, they drop nutrients which you can collect and use to fill up these meters in some sort of hub area and unlock new areas. I'd love to do that with this, and that would just show off just how versatile this game engine and its editor are. Basically, everything that is in the game that you just played is at your fingertips when you have the editor.
Oh, that'd be a cool game, kind of like a bit of like a grossology, only like Metroidvania style. Is that what you're kind of describing there, or
something like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, except that it would have something that I personally think games have overlooked very badly. a lot of games have opposing forces in them, light versus dark, fire versus ice, that kind of
Hmm.
thing. One thing that is actually really common in nature that games have completely ignored is acid versus base.
Right.
Yeah, and the thing about the digestive thing is that I can totally take advantage of that. I could have doors that you have to make sure that all of the litmus paper is red or something like that, or all of the litmus paper is blue, and acid versus alkaline allows you to do that. So yeah, that's another thing
That
that I
that
would
sounds like an
really enjoy.
edutainment game I'd actually be interested in playing.
That's kind of the goal here.
Right. A
Yeah.
lot of them just are. It's like they force what they want to educate, teach, into the game, and at the detriment of gameplay or compelling anything.
Yeah, with this, the gameplay is baked right into it. Like,
Hmm.
since the enemies are food, the nutrients that you get from from the types of food, those are the actual items that you have to collect.
Hmm.
And different teeth chew different types of food. Like you use your canine teeth for meat, you use your molars for vegetables, and your incisors as well, that kind of thing. So I can, since the different parts of your body and your different teeth are the weapons that you actually use, and you switch to those weapons basically the same way you switch between ponies. That's another way that character switching is intended to be implemented long term. But
Hmm.
the idea is that baked right into the gameplay is the education. Like you learn about how your digestive system handles different food by using different weapons against different enemies, because the enemies are food and the weapons are the parts of your digestive system. And
Yeah.
when we get to the large intestine, it will be firing bacteria, not poop. Yeah, because there are bacteria in there that produce vitamins that you
Yes.
can't produce yourself. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that definitely sounds like a great idea there. Hmm.
I hope so. Someday I'd like to get in contact with the guy who did Slim Goodbody. I think he's still alive. He was making YouTube videos once per day for a few years there, like up through 2020, I think.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I totally like to get in touch with him and work on a game like that. But obviously, I have more features to add, and I'd kind of like it if it stayed a pony game as well. But it's not like these are mutually exclusive
All right.
until you take into account how much time it makes to make them. Then yeah, of course, if I got help, then yeah, we could easily make Slim Goodbody's nutrition nightmare. Yeah.
Already got a title there. All right.
Yeah, well, it's got consonants, it's got alliteration, so why
Mm-hmm.
not?
All
Well,
right.
thank
Well,
you very
that's
much.
oh,
This was a
thank you
lot
for
of
showing
fun.
showing us and talking about the game there. Hmm.
Yeah, I guess it's getting around supper time for both of us. So,
It definitely is. Yeah.
okay. Well, thank you very much.
Well,
Talk to you later.
talk to you later. Thank you. Mhm.
Mhm. Bye.
And we'll close that out. And, and we're just going to, is that, bloop. All right, cool. All right. That was a fun conversation. Gonna call it a night here as well. Till next time. Peace out and have fun and rock on. Have a good one.